Welcome, everybody, to the Luv and War Podcast. I'm your co-host, Leo Jackson, a.k.a. Easy.
I'm Lana Spencer, and I don't have a nickname.
Well, we'll come up with one.
We'll see. I have to approve it, though.
I thought you was Miss Cuban or something.
Cubana Lana. I guess that's my online persona, but yes.
That's like
that
her
rhymes, so that's your fucking nickname.
There it is.
Cubana Lana, that's my
Isn't that like
persona.
your merch line? Don't you got merch dropping or something
I
like that?
actually turned that into a brand. It's actually... like it's a business.
I've been knowing you a long time, and just recently did I learn that you were actually Cuban, but we'll have to get into that in one of these episodes.
You and me both. I just found that out.
That's right. Well, again, welcome out to the podcast. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. This is our first episode, so we're just going to go through quick introduction of ourselves so we can familiarize or get familiar with you all, and you all can get familiar with us as we go on this journey to discuss relationships, love, intimacy, gender roles, and just all the other intricacies and nuances as we navigate through this crazy world that we're living in today, where sometimes we feel like we can't stand to be together and we can't stand to be apart. Want to drop some of our socials? Let them know where they can find us.
So we have Instagram, which is Luv and War Podcast. We also have the same for Facebook, for our Facebook page. Soon we will be adding TikTok, it'll be the same. So those will be across all platforms. And that's where you'll be able to check some of the shorts for what we're doing today are on those pages.
So make sure to hit the like, the follow, and the subscribe button. Hit the like, follow,
YouTube
subscribe
as well.
button. Hit the little hearts, all the emojis. Make sure that you engage with us. We do rely on you to keep this show going. We can't pay our bills without you. We got these wonderful producers in the back here that need a check, so make sure you help us get ours. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
You already know who it is in the back, Big Rico. You know, shout out to the OGs coming in and spend some game. I'm definitely taking what y'all give and gonna apply it to my life. I can't wait to hear this one.
There it goes. There it goes.
This is the only time I'm gonna have a mic in my hand. Only Cherokee, Chef Cherokee Christopher. Shout out to Luv and War. I'm happy to see what this journey brings to us, man. It's great topics. It's what the rail's been missing. You know what I'm saying? Topics that need to be discussed.
House of King Studios, Prolific Media, representing in the building.
Shout out Prolific Kings, this Fuji Wild Hundreds. You know, yeah, let's get the show going.
Let's get it rolling. So I'll start out with a quick introduction of myself. Again, my name is Leo Jackson. My friends call me Easy. I was born in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm 39 years old. Currently, I am a single father of two. I have a son and a daughter. Spent about 9.5 years in Tallahassee, Florida, frequenting South Florida a lot. So a lot of my experiences when it comes to these conversations are going to be, related to the culture of St. Paul, Minneapolis, Minnesota, but also the South, since I spent a while down there hanging out, partying, dating, living my life, even raised a nephew down there. So I'm kind of well-versed. I've been coast to coast, got a lot of different experiences with a lot of different people. So my plan is to kind of bring that culture to this podcast and give everybody just a wealth of perspectives as we kind of dive into these different topics.
That's hard to follow. So I'm Lana, Cubana Lana. I am 100% a Frogtown kid, Frogtown, St. Paul. Let's see, I am a mother of 3. I'm 36. I'm not a single mother. Granted, I am single as a person. Let's see, what else? I own multiple businesses. Apparently, my nickname is now Cubana Lana. You can find all that on my social media platforms. And, I've had the privilege of traveling internationally, going to multiple schools throughout the cities and states. So I'm hoping to bring a different perspective and maybe give you guys just a little bit of insight into the female mind.
That's right. Now, you also have some, what I would call some interesting
perspectives.
Not only perspectives, but just an interesting lifestyle that I think you're also going to bring to the podcast.
Yes.
Dietary, the way you approach finance,
Yes.
Your career, and even family dynamics. You pointed out that you are a single woman, but not necessarily a single mother.
Yes.
And I guess I can say the same. I don't parent alone. I co-parent, even though at times it may feel that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, you participate in a vegan lifestyle is what you like to call it?
Raw vegan lifestyle.
Raw vegan. Okay, that sucks. That
Raw
sucks.
vegan
What's the
lifestyle.
difference between that and a vegan lifestyle?
So I don't eat cooked food, meaning
What?
I eat raw fruits and vegetables. That is my diet.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what
Raw
would lunch
fruits.
look like?
Mostly fruit, to be honest. I will say this, and most people scoff when I say this out loud, but majority of my diet is fruit. I eat 80 to 90% of fruit pretty much at all times. And then, like, on the way here, I eat a salad bowl size, like, salad that I made at home. And I make my own dressings from scratch and all that kind of stuff, but I just don't eat cooked foods.
Why?
Truthfully, I got really ill several years ago, and the doctors always want to give you a handful of pills, and I don't ascribe to that. So I decided to use food as medicine, and I started educating myself on what I could do with my diet to help bring me the health that I desired without pharmaceuticals.
Okay,
I can rock with that.
I can rock with that. I can't be
Definitely,
mad at that one.
definitely. Well, I think since we kind of jumped into that, also like to share just some of our hobbies, things that we're into. So again, our audience can kind of connect with us and see how we relate. I'd say some of my biggest hobbies, since we're talking about nutrition, health and fitness, I was a personal trainer, a certified personal trainer for about 7 years, but I've been in sports athletics and personal training and just weightlifting for probably about 20 years. So some of my biggest hobbies are just running, weightlifting, and sports in general. I'm also a youth sports coach. I coach football. I'm a dedicated dad when it comes to basketball coaching. Basketball is not my game, but I can teach a kid to dribble with the right hand and left hand. So I do love working with kids. I'm an educator by trade. I've worked in education for 20 years as well. Started substitute teaching when I was 19 years old, and I fell in love with it. And for whatever reason, I can't seem to get away from it. So those things I'm into. I also like long walks on the beach, romantic music made by artists like Kevin Gates.
Crazy.
And
He likes crazy.
Only thing that popped into my head was I can't even say it. I'm not trying to get copyrighted. I'm just thinking with my name.
Exactly. And reading. I like to read. You know, I mean, that's an ideal evening for me. A bath and a book, and Kevin Gates talking nasty to some girl in the background.
What type of books you be reading?
What type of books?
You don't be
I'm kind of
those romantic.
actually
thrillers,
no. I'm not into romantic novels. I'm big into books that like history. I like U.S. history.
Okay.
I like to read books that align with some of my, I would say, political beliefs. I also like to read to my children. So I'll read a lot of fantasy novels, and even though my kids are in middle school, I still read to them. So I read fantasy novels every single day. I actually read to my kids more than I read for myself. So yeah, I've been spending a lot of time reading about dragons and fairies and stuff like that. And my son is big in sports books or novels that kind of pertain to like being like a middle-aged or a teenage boy. So I'll read a lot of books about that. But even the nonfiction stuff, like I'm also reading to him right now 50 Cent's book. Okay. So, you know, motivational books and things like that. So I'm always trying to pour into him through literacy.
Yep.
What about you?
So some of the things that I delve into, I'm big into herbalism to the point of like the way my lifestyle works. I don't use pharmaceuticals, so I study herbalism. I'm big into that. I am a huge nerd. I have hundreds of books in my house, and I've read majority of them multiple times over, predominantly sci-fi. But also I read a lot of like psychology books, things on manifestation, stuff like that. I am big into kind of do-it-yourself type things. I'm key for looking up a YouTube and figuring out how to build bathrooms or take cars apart. It kind of depends. Let's see. I am extremely family-oriented. It's very rare that you catch me without children, and including other people's children. I am known to have 5, 6 extra kids at my house at any given day.
About to send mine to your house.
I was
Mine
just
get
going to
on my
say,
nerves.
is there an age restriction? You like little ones?
Listen, we have between the two families, there are 7 children, and they go from 1 all the way up to 18. So, no.
I feel it. I can dig it.
Yeah, it's running. I'm also a huge Halloween enthusiast. I know how to do FX makeup. I used to do it for the zombie crawl. Had a blast. Love doing stuff like that. Anything costume related, I'm in. Let's see what else.
Yeah,
Corporate, yeah.
If you're on, if you follow me on Facebook, Easy Senior, you'll be able to see some of her work. I don't know if you guys have checked out some of the throwback videos and pictures.
She did those.
That was
you
Lana
was-
with the rib cage.
Yeah,
ripped
you was out there
or my
acting
throat
wild.
ripped out. Yeah. So Lana's been doing all of my zombie makeup for the past 7-8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
She's
dig
really
that.
dope.
Which I wish they would bring that back.
They
like,
do.
listen, if you guys have not been to the zombie crawl here, like if you missed the book, you missed it.
Yeah.
That event, hands down.
I feel
one
like
of the
that's
best
something we need is like a Halloween bash up here. Like
It
you
was
know,
the biggest bash I've ever
something
been
like
to Halloween.
where
wise.
everyone dresses up, and
Yeah.
you know you see it out in California and all the other big hubs all the time. I know that you probably been to a
Right.
few down in Florida where it's just dress up and let's have some fun.
Nobody's out there thugging it when you're in costume.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's,
The
it's hard
energy
to
is
thug
so
when you're
good.
Shaggy Norville.
Yeah.
I used to make a list. Every Halloween of all the different things I wanted to find. Like, I even had a squirrel on there one year. I found a squirrel. There's a guy dressed as a squirrel. Like, I mean, Wonder Woman. Anything. I would make this crazy list, and I would always find all the costumes.
Yeah.
Like, partying in downtown Minneapolis for Halloween, unrivaled from
That's
from my
fun.
experiences.
I still
It's so
think my
fun.
favorite costume of all time, I was a police officer. His name was Sergeant Dick Amazing.
Wow.
Of course it was. So when we get into relationship conversations,
Shout out to
specifically
Sarge-
like his past
now you know what to
relationship
call him,
stuff.
Sergeant Dick
No,
Amazing.
this is
I was
why-
saying that was the name on the badge. It was Sergeant Dick Amazing. That was his name.
You know, I don't want to hear your woes anymore about like past relationships because
His name
you
was
asked
Richard.
for it.
His name was Richard. All right. Yeah, his nickname was Dick. Richard Amazing. Yeah, come on.
That's
Sure.
ridiculous.
We're
That's
keeping it
Yes.
PG. Come
Keeping
on,
it
guys.
PG.
Get your minds out of the gutter.
God.
Get
My
your
mind's not in the
minds
gutter.
out
I
of
have
the
a sexy
gutter.
imagination. Yeah, but yeah, have you guys seen like what would be your favorite like celebrity costume that you've seen in the last couple years? Because you know they're kind of like Easy. He was doing his throwbacks from the Halloweens, and that's kind of what the celebs has been on. You know, you had Travis Scott in the brown Batman costume. You had, you know, LeBron James as a 70s roller skater type stuff. What would, if out of memory, what's one of your guys' favorites?
Well, I think the classic. Again, I work with kids, and I was substituting music, or we didn't have a music teacher, and I didn't know what to do. So I went in and I said, you know what? They're going to learn about Thriller. Michael Jackson is always good on Halloween. Like, if you wanted to pick, like, a celebrity costume, and, I mean, you could pick any Michael that you want, right? Because there's, like, 4 different Mikes. You could pick any one, but Thriller is always good. Bad is always good with the black leather. Or you could come out there, you know, in the gold with the reflective shades, you know what I'm saying? So Michael Jackson would be my, like, favorite go-to celebrity costume. Who would you be?
I don't know that I have like a favorite celebrity costume because I try to do different stuff every year.
I could see you coming out there on some Marilyn Monroe stuff or something.
Something like that.
I could see it.
I would probably be more a Wonder Woman type. Like that would be probably like this
Shout
year
out
I'm
DC.
gonna be this year I'm probably gonna be an elf, which I love because I'm into all that sci-fi stuff.
Like what? Like are we talking like Lord of the Rings elf, or are we talking about like, you know, Christmas elf?
No, we're talking like Lord of the Rings
the
elf.
Rings.
Yeah.
Kibbles. Kibbles elf.
So you're gonna get super angelic with it, you know, get the pointy ears. Get the
I've already
makeup
got
done.
it.
You
I've already ordered it. I've already got it. And
She
I'm
primed it. It's on its way right now.
It's between that and Poison Ivy, so I don't know. We'll see.
Poison Ivy.
That's dope. That's
that
dope.
one would be pretty fucking.
Well, I
dope.
told her if she shows up as an elf, I'll be an elf too. I just need to be a dead one. You know, I said, make me a zombie elf. You know what I'm saying?
Is that how you get out of, being able to thug it out? Oh, yeah, I'm an elf, but I'm a zombie.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? I can't come out there as like a full-blooded fairy, you know what I mean? Like, I got to at least have my throat slit, you know what I'm saying, with a sword on my back or something. Or no, the elves, they got the bow and arrow, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Zelda. I just got to be a dead
y'all just
Zelda,
really made me so upset. Zelda is the princess. Link
that's right,
is
Link.
the elf.
And forgive me, man. That game came out in like 1989.
Yeah, when you were young enough to play it, so you should know this.
Oh, hold on.
I don't even
now
know
you
what
coming at
game
my
that
age.
is.
You know what I'm saying? Hold on, man.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I know, right? Don't get jumped in here,
Hey.
Shouts out to all the 80s babies, who grew up on Nintendo. You know what I'm saying?
Who know that Zelda is not the elf.
Zelf was the one Link was trying to save.
Exactly.
You right. All right, well, let's get into the first topic. So we wanted to open with a great question that I think a lot of people across America are talking about, which is the separation and possible divorce of Tom the Goat Brady and his wife Giselle.
Who, in respect, is also a goat in her field.
That's true.
Facts.
So,
Big facts.
let's acknowledge that.
Yeah,
Yes.
she got a big bag. She got
the Victoria's Secret equivalent to 7 rings.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
She got the bag. So how do you feel about that separation? I mean, that seems like an ideal relationship that most Americans, kind of would call goals in today's world, right?
Like a power couple.
NFL Hall of Famer, arguably the greatest football player of all time, one of the greatest supermodels of all time. That might be the America's white equivalent to like urban culture, Jay-Z and Beyonce, right? How do you feel about their separation and what's going on?
Well, so I'll be honest. I had to educate myself on what was happening because I wasn't following it to begin with. But I think it brings up an interesting conundrum when it comes to relationships. Is it more complicated to have two powerful people in the same relationship? Because then it begs the question, who calls the shots, right? Because now you've got two, by rights, goat people in a relationship. And I think the argument that she's making is basically like, he's not available enough for my family and I don't want him to play anymore because I want him home. But you also... brought him into your life because of who he was.
Right.
And now you're asking him to give up a big piece of who he is. But again, to her argument, she has substantially more, I guess, like assets and money than he does.
Right.
So she's looking at it like, but I don't need you to do that anymore. I can cover everything we need. I'd rather have you home.
Yeah.
So, like, I understand from her perspective of things, but I also respect from his point. He's like, listen, this is who you got when you married me.
Exactly. And I think that's my issue with it. Giselle would have never gave me a chance, right? Because I'm regular.
Yes.
So she's dating a guy of a certain status.
Right.
And not to say that it's just because of his status, but that's how those two people have access to one another.
Exactly. They wouldn't have met otherwise.
Exactly. You're in certain clubs, you're in certain spaces.
Exactly.
When you go party at Jay-Z's 4040, you get to be on the top floor and all the B-listers,
all the guest
are on the
lists.
next level. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm down there maybe trying to, get a shot at Megan Good. I don't get to talk to Giselle and I'd be fine with that. You know what I'm saying? But, so they're at a certain level where they get to connect. And you have this opportunity to form this power couple because of who you are. And I was saying this, in a previous conversation, Tom came forward a long time ago, years ago, and said that he was going to be playing football well into his 40s. Like that was his goal. And the average football fan already knew that was Tom's plan. So if we knew that and he communicated that to the public, how can his wife or even girlfriend at the time, like why would she think that he would deviate from his plan if that was a part of like what attracted her to him? Like why then say, now that I've got you and we've got this family, I want you to change, and not saying that football is who he is, but I do understand that when you do something for so long, and he probably started playing football at like 6, 7, 8 years old.
It becomes ingrained in who you are.
It's a part of his makeup, and to then all of a sudden say, quit because you have me, we have money, we have kids. Well, he came into the relationship with a kid.
Right.
I think she might even came into the relationship with a kid. So they might have already both had children. I think that's a tough ask of somebody.
I think it's a tough ask. I do. But I also think that those are conversations, to your point, that you got to have those in the beginning, right? Like before you start having more children together, what are the expectations? Like, where are you going to be in 10 years from now?
Right.
But it sounds like he did make that clear. But on the other side of things, I respect that things change. You know, you have a couple babies and you realize, I thought that lifestyle was sustainable when we got into this, but now that we're living it, this isn't sustainable for me anymore. Like, I need more support and I need you here more. So, like, I can respect both sides of the argument, but it is tough because he's got the argument that says, I told you when I came, this was my plan.
But sorry to cut you off, but didn't he renege twice on that? So, like, say that was the plan. We're going to go with that. You know, they talked about it. I'm going to be, until I'm 40, I'm going to be playing football. He's retired twice. Well, I'd say 1.5. One was like a half retired to get off a team.
And who knows what conversations they had when that happened.
They came out in public, and she came out and said, I'm finally happy to have him home. You know, this is great deal. Right. You know, I have my husband back. You know, she didn't really say all that, but that was the gist of what her post said. Yeah. And then it kind of seemed like he was at home for like 6 weeks and was like, all right, time to play football again.
He couldn't take it.
Exactly.
And is it?
And so is she wrong if he made that choice and that commitment and they had the conversation and then pulled out? Because at that point, who was bamboozled who?
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, is he wrong for, you know, that's a big adjustment to think, you know, it's not just sitting at home with the family. It's literally sitting at home. Think about it. This man was busy for the off season's 3 months.
Yeah.
So maybe 1-2 months out of the year he's home. Everything else is strictly football.
Yeah.
Or he might be home, but most of his time is football. You know, that's a big change to, you know, out of nowhere be like, this is what I'm doing.
Some people can look at it as selfish. I want to say it was Chad Ochocinco that said he would never get married or get into a relationship until he was done with football, because he understood the level of commitment to the game required him to live a selfish lifestyle. And he knew that he couldn't be a great partner to somebody else while dedicating his life to the game. I had the privilege of growing up with Joe Mauer, a Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame baseball player. Baseball, as you know, has 161 games. They start their season in February, and if they make a playoff run, they can play till November. Very little time off. So even as a friend, our relationship was strained, and we're not really as close as we once were as children growing up because he was never here. And he got into a relationship, got married, and after a few years, he decided to retire, and he said it was because he wanted to be a parent. He wanted to be present for his kids. The average person and the average fan was like, what are you doing retiring at the ripe age of, I don't know, I think he was at that time probably about like 34 years old when he retired, 35 maybe. He had more baseball in front of him. He was making like $25, $30 million a year. People were like, this dude's nuts, you know, and if he plays a few more seasons, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer in MLB. But it was really about, you know, what he was ready for at that time. And he wanted to give more time to his kids. He was ready to make that leap. But Joe did tell me, we had a conversation months before he retired. He told me he was going to retire. And he said, but the thing is, he was like, Leo, I don't know what I'm going to do. He said, I don't have any other skills. He said, I love my parents, you know, but all I ever did as a kid was play sports. He said, I couldn't even work a job if I wanted to. He's like, I don't know how to use a multi-line phone. Like, I don't know how to do anything. And he told me he was thinking about going into a trade and becoming a welder. This is a guy who's worth about $200-300 million, and he was going to go to trade school because he had no other skills than playing sports. Yeah. So Tom is probably sitting at home feeling useless. You know, a guy like that who that's all he does, that's all he knows. He probably doesn't even know how to work like his stove. They've probably got some, you know, like $10,000 oven that he can't even turn on. Right. And so he's like, what do I do here? You know, he probably doesn't watch TV other than watch game film. So he probably doesn't even know how to work the remote. You know, so he's like,
he wants to watch.
Yeah, so he's like, man, I don't know what to do in this house. I bought all this crap, but I've never used it before, man. Let me go back to practice.
Exactly. Yeah, that's something a lot of people don't, you know, get the chance to think about, you know, is that type of mind state. It's like, what am I going to do after the situation?
Poor Giselle.
Poor Giselle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, that kind of leads us into our next topic is, in that situation, I just really think you have to fall in love with yourself, you know, and that, you know, whether it's before a relationship, during, or at, you know, worst case scenario at the end of a relationship, is you got to be.
It should be first.
Yeah.
It should absolutely be first. I don't know why people jump into relationships as a half a person. And what I mean by that is if you have not taken the time to really get to know yourself and love who you are, how are you going to teach another person to love you? How are you going to know how to educate them on how to love you back, right? And if you don't truly love yourself, are you going to be able to give love if you don't have a proper understanding of that within yourself?
Yeah.
That should always be first. I'm a firm believer that you should live alone for a period of time, have the basic necessities of life skills before you jump in any relationship, and be absolutely madly in love with who you are, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything else, before you jump into a relationship.
Now, when you say basic necessities, are you telling me that as a man, like, I need to be able to cook or like iron and fold my clothes?
Do you have to eat?
Yeah, but
So then you should know how to cook.
that's
Do you
what I'm
wear
getting a woman
clothing?
for.
Do you wear clothing? You should know how to wash your clothes. Do you plan on owning a home? You should know how to clean and organize said home.
So you telling me that women should also know how to put oil in their engine, put gas in their tank,
I do.
and run a lawnmower?
You should know the basic necessities of life. You should know the basic necessities. If I can get stranded and because of these skills, I can't help myself,
Right.
that's a life skill.
I
You
don't
should know how to change a tire. You should know that, oh, my car's knocking a little bit. I wonder what that might. You should have basic understanding. Like, I should probably put some oil in it. Maybe I want to take it in.
I got a lot
Basic
of
life skills.
I got a lot of women on my Facebook page that tell me that that's not their job and that a
Listen.
man should be doing that for them.
You can have someone else do it for you, but you shouldn't have to. There's a difference because, listen, can I lift a bunch of heavy stuff? Sure. Do I want to? No. So my point is I can do it myself. But if I have a partner who, A, is more capable of doing it than I am, and I can pass that task off, then I'm going to do that. But if it comes that my partner's not available, am I supposed to just stand there like some damsel in distress? No, because it still has to get done.
Got you.
So I'm going to figure it out. It's the same, and I feel the same way. That's the interesting thing between, like, gender differences and gender roles. Like, we're going to speak through that at some point, but it touches on this because there's this crazy ideology that specific tasks belong to specific genders. And I'm like, no, those are life skills. Do you eat food? Then you should know how to cook it. Do you plan on grocery shopping and actually having food? Then you should know how to budget and meal plan. Those are life skills.
Well, first off, I just want to say I love me some me. All right. Shouts out to T.O. who came up with that line. So I'm definitely all about self-love. I hear you. I think about EMTs, you know, first responders. The number one rule in responding to somebody who is hurt or in danger is to ensure your own safety first.
Yes.
You know, you got to, what do they tell you on an airplane?
mask on
Like, put the mask
yourself
on you and then you put it on somebody else. You know, when you're going to jump out there in that water, make sure you attach a flotation device for yourself before you jump in there, because that other person you'll drown together.
Yes.
Right? And so I feel like a lot of people go into relationships looking for someone to love them
They look for the missing pieces.
because they don't love themselves.
You cannot look for fulfillment outside of yourself.
Yeah.
You can't, because then what you're doing is you're asking a person to fix something within yourself that honestly they don't have the tools to fix.
I feel like a
Who
lot of
knows
people
you
don't
better than
understand that.
you?
A lot
You
of-
know you better than anyone.
That's real. That's real. But you have a lot of people who are missing something, and it's usually some childhood trauma.
Please go to therapy.
They're looking for somebody to fulfill that, and when a person is not capable of being the fix that they thought they were,
Get upset.
They get upset, they blame, or they tell that other person that they're somehow inadequate. But when really the void is internal, you know, it's internal. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. Like, you have to start with self-love. I remember years ago you told me that relationships aren't 50-50.
They're 100-100.
They're 100-100. You have to bring your whole self to the table.
They have to bring them whole self to the table.
And I think that even carries over to the conversation that goes on social media about providing in terms of finance. It's not about like who pays what bill or how we're going to split things, but everybody bring their whole check. We don't have to worry about who makes the most, but if we just both bring all of our money to the table and then the bills get paid and then we just take care of all the other things that we want to do and have a vacation budget and a clothes, then we're good. But if we're saying, okay, I make 100,000, you make 50. So since I make double what you make, I need to pay twice what you pay, then that's where the arguments and the contention comes into the relationships versus us just really becoming one.
I think that's an interesting conversation for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think people have a proper understanding of finances in general. I don't think people have enough education on how to properly manage a budget, to your point. Because, like, most people, I went to a financial seminar and the man said, he goes, how many of you mind your money? And I'm like, I budget. And he's like, okay. He goes, if I sat down with you right now, could you tell me all of the money and assets that you have? Would you know? And most people don't.
Right.
Like I looked at him and he's like, do you know what your bank account holds right now? Do you know what money you have invested where? Do you know where everything is? Are you managing all of that? And I was like, interesting. Because, you know, you put money aside, you put in savings, it just sits there. You don't do the right types of things. When you're melding two people together, and this is not just with finances, one, you have to establish a couple of things. What is your understanding of relationships, period? Yeah. What is your understanding of this relationship? What are your expectations and what are our goals?
Right.
Those are the ways that you are able to properly meld relationships together. Even to your point to finances, like, okay, great, we're putting everything in the pot. One, you have to understand who's better at managing this. Mm-hmm. How are we going to handle decisions with this, right? Like, what do we want to do? What are our goals? If you can't get those few things together, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
So that even goes to the interpersonal relationship, the way that we operate with one another, the way that we spend time, sleep schedules, parenting skills, being a parent and working with kids on their homework. One parent may be better suited at being a tutor because they have a teaching style that fits the kids, where another person might be short in patience.
Yes.
One parent may be stronger in terms of extracurricular activities, athletics. So maybe they get more heavily involved in that. But I really don't think that when people come together, they take those things into account. It's usually like the physical attraction piece.
You would if you knew and loved yourself, because you would make those priorities. You would have already thought about that. You know better what you want in a partner when you know better who you are in yourself.
Also, when you already have an understanding of your own strengths and weaknesses, then you do a better job. You know what you bring.
You have the inventory.
Yeah.
You can say, I have these skill sets. So to balance out the person that I am, it would be beneficial for me to find a partner who has X, Y, and Z, right? Like that's how you find the reciprocal relationship.
Yeah.
So I feel like, again, it goes back to that point of like self-love. Because once you get to a point of self-love, one, you've typically done the work to become the version of yourself that you're happiest with, which means you're going to be the best partner to that person because you've done the work.
Right.
But you're also going to know what your love languages are, what makes you feel valued, and how can you tell someone to love you if you haven't asked yourself those questions?
All right, well, a person like me, you know, I'm slightly toxic. And I like toxic
Aren't
women.
we all? Oh, my God.
So if a woman comes to me and just says, you know what, I seen your podcast, so I'm just be open with you. I'm crazy.
You're going to go.
I'm going to fold. However,
he's asking for the number immediately. Matter of fact, hey, put your Snapchat in my phone. You toxic? Snapchat.
No, there's not a level.
But I would say, like, is being transparent, because, okay, so as a man, like, men are often accused of being liars. You know, like, we're often, even though humans lie, right? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
Yes.
But men, I feel like we are the ones who take most of the burden when it comes to these types of things. And so is being transparent always the best way to go? Because it seems like men also get credit for being smooth and having game. Like, men will tell you, like, women want to be lied to. You know what I'm saying? Like, Women love being told what they want to hear, but if I just come flat out and tell you, like, you know what, my credit score is 540, I got horrible money management skills, I got a couple BMs, I'm trying to get my life together, you know what I'm saying, but I got a lot of potential.
You said the key term right there, because this goes back to that statement.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not in a space of life where you have the basic necessities of what you want,
right?
Why are you looking for a partner? Because listen,
company, companionship, friendship,
the companionship you need is with yourself first.
Oh.
And listen, if we're talking about physical intimacy and the needs that need to be met there, that's a separate conversation, and that's where your honesty comes in, because you can tell a person, you can be like, listen, I'm not in a space in my life where I can take on a full-time partner, but I am open to the idea of having a physical companionship with you, but you need to know I'm not in that space. Because what it does is it takes away the obligation for you to then feel like you need to overperform in that situationship, whatever you want to call it, and it gives them a choice to participate.
I like that.
Because listen, if you're going to sit down with me and be like, look, I'm in the midst of building myself to the person I want to be, so I cannot be in a relationship with you.
Yeah.
But I enjoy your company and companionship, and we're both physically attracted to each other. Would you consider that type of relationship? You give me the opportunity to say yes or no.
Yeah.
But if you get me under the false pretenses that you're ready for a relationship, that's when you're wrong.
See, okay. Well, that's where I feel like a lot of people really don't know what they're looking for, because I think we throw the word relationship out there as just like being together, almost like high school, like boyfriend and girlfriend. But what I'm hearing you say is, which is really what most of us need to be doing in the early phases anyway, which is becoming good friends, hanging out, spending time, whether you're intimate or not, but like still being able to have the bond without the responsibility of having to go into the provider role, because you or I may not be ready to fulfill all those roles.
And say
gender role aside, like if I'm the guy and so it's expected that I pay your bills. Well, financially, I'm not prepared to pay your bills. However, I'm still here to be an ear for you. I'm still here to maybe help out around the house. I'm still here to, hang out and have a good time, but I'm not necessarily ready to like move into your life and be the man of your life where I'm going to be raking your grass, taking out your trash, and trying to be a stepdaddy. Like that may not be it. And women for the same thing. Like she could just say, look, like I want a guy to talk to. Spend time with, go out to eat.
She might want a guy to come over and satisfy her and go home. That is on both sides of the spectrum. But again,
I feel like
have to be
everybody wants
honest.
to go full-fledged though. Like after a couple months of dating, it's like be my man, be my woman, and let's work towards marriage. Or
when you
every
first
man
met,
knows they want to be married in
conversation.
6 months or 60 days, and if not, he's wasting your time. Like what if I want to finish school?
Say that.
But then you lose your girl. Like then you got to go find another one.
But that is the deal with honesty. Well, that's the deal with honesty, because listen, what you have a right to do is to state your purpose. You have every right to do that. What you don't have a right to do is take away someone's ability to make an informed decision.
I feel it.
So look, you may not be able to experience that situation with that person.
Yeah.
But you're not entitled to that either.
Right.
So how are you losing something you never had? You're not losing something because there was no opportunity there. So how are you losing it?
I mean, you could be losing numbers off your roster. You know what I'm saying?
And I feel like that's where it comes from right there. You said, how can I be honest? If I'm honest, I lose my girl.
It's not your girl. You stated that you didn't want that girl. You wanted her under these circumstances.
But that still can be your person without like the intention of moving into
but that can still be your friend.
And I don't even want to say a fully committed relationship, because there's levels to commitment as well.
There is.
Like comes with honesty. You could be in, let's say this. How about using the word exclusive? You could be in an exclusive relationship, meaning we're not dealing with anybody else but each other, but we're not moving forward in a sense of like family building yet.
Again, that's a conversation. So listen, you might have the initial conversation at first that says, I'm not at this space now, right? The person agrees and says, I can live with the parameters that you've set. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
5 months down the line, you check in. 3 months down, like whatever. She changed her mind, you change your mind. whatever. You keep having those open dialogues, right? But the initial point is everybody has to lay their cards and expectations on the table so that each person can make an informed consent. Because that's really what it's about. It's an informed consent. Because you wouldn't like some girl to lie to you about some nonsense and then come to find out and you're like, what?
Women lie to me all the time.
Yeah, but you know they've been lying and you still are like, cool. Like, let's
Women
go.
lie to me all the time, boy. They be lying about all kinds of stuff. Relationship status.
But you want to know something? I have heard some
Pregnancy.
of your stories. Red flags be dropping out the sky like raindrops.
Man, look.
And he just be like, I mean, it's not that bad though.
There are women. There are women on BLK and Tinder that be like 3-4 months pregnant. Ain't said nothing. It ain't in their bio. You know?
But you see the baby bump and be going.
Not at
Not all
like 3
time.
months. You know what I'm saying? Not 3, or they hide it. You know, y'all be having angles. You know what I'm saying? Probably got a little slimming filter through on
Sitting
that.
with the legs crossed. You know, it's a little bit. It's everything nowadays.
She had a little beer on her breath. You know, I thought the little pudge, you know what I'm saying, was just a little puffiness from a long night of drinking. You know, I ain't know, you know, I'm just saying.
Ridiculous.
But, and men do the same thing. And again, I think that a part of that courting phase, there's just the game. There is the game. I'm calling it the game.
But that's why we have
that
such a
people play.
toxic dating world right now, is because everybody's trying to play a game. But that also comes back to that self-love piece. A person who is in love and happy with who they are never want to play games. Why? Because they're like, I don't need or want that in my life because I have everything that I need within who I am.
Right.
I'm looking for things to enhance it. I'm not looking for things to fill voids. That's where that game comes in, is because you're trying to figure out, I don't have that myself. I got to figure out a way to go get it.
Yeah.
That's all that game nonsense. Stop playing the game. Because if you're going to play it, then don't be mad when you lose. Again, to your point, like, but did I lose my girl? That was never your girl.
Man.
That was the whole point of your argument.
You can't tell some of these people that they, you know, might feel like they got 4, 5 of them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Listen,
whole roster, and then they got to replenish. And it's getting cold outside. It's getting cold outside. What you gonna do? You can't lose them now. You can't start telling the truth in November. You know, now around February,
February,
you know
March.
what I'm saying? Around February, Valentine's Day coming. You know, then I gotta go. You know, now you know. Let's have a sit down. Let's do
He's
some
out of there by
truth-telling.
what? February 12th.
Man, something
Start
like
telling
that.
truth?
Something like that.
This is
and then it's spring break coming in March too. I ain't bringing no seashells
snap.
to the beach. You know what I'm saying? I'll
These are the
relinquish you
people
around
that
July.
end up like sad and single in their 40s, though. Like real stuff.
I'm
They're
not
like,
40 yet, so you know we
Still
good.
got a
sad
couple
and
years.
single.
I'm not 40 yet.
He's still got some juice left for these toxic people he loves to entertain.
bit.
He's like, I got enough. I got just enough.
But no, I do hear you though on the self-love. I do think that's important. Self-development.
Yes.
Just in general, just working to become the best version of yourself.
Yes.
I think you touched on it. And we watched a podcast previously where a person said that if you're looking for an ideal partner, write all
them.
of those things that you want out of a partner and then work to become that person.
Yes.
Because if that's what you're looking for, then that's really who you want to be. So
Yes.
try to become the person you're looking for, and then you will naturally attract people like yourself, because water seeks its own level.
Yes.
So if you can become the greatest version of yourself, then you can find other great people. You know, but if you're down here and you're bottom dwelling, then you always going to have issues. And so me personally, that's kind of what I had to realize about myself. I think I'm a natural helper. I'm a healer. I'm a community servant. And because of those traits about myself, what I found myself is doing is like dating women that needed help, because I like to help people.
But you got to ask yourself, where in who you are as a person does that savior complex come from? Why do you feel like you've got to save everybody else?
Yep.
Because the truth of the matter is, it's not your responsibility to save other people from themselves.
I didn't know that
But
though.
why do you feel like you need to? Because typically when you give things that are not healthy for yourself, there is a piece within you that feels like you have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
don't.
call it superheroes complex. I grew up as a kid, and we'll get into it in further, podcasts, but I definitely grew up with some childhood trauma where I wanted to save my mom from domestic violence.
Yes.
And so as a child, I told myself like I was going to grow up one day to beat this guy up. And so that's how I actually started working out and playing football. And
Right.
so as I've grown throughout my life, it's always been looking to help people because I wanted to help when I was a kid.
And you
so
couldn't.
I tend to attract people that I can help, or people,
So
or
is
women
it
will
safe
come
to
to me.
say that characteristic is a trauma response?
It's definitely a trauma response.
So then if it's a trauma response, is it a healthy or unhealthy coping mechanism with the trauma?
I think it's a catch-22, can go both ways. You know, I've done some positive things for
If
people.
it's positively impacting your life,
It's done both.
it's positive. But if there's any negative element, it's not. That negates the positivity
So then we
because
just at zero.
but you,
No progress,
again, but that goes
no
back to
loss.
doing the work.
So then I'm still in the same spot. Damn.
You got to do the work because if you still feel like you've got to save everybody, because what you're doing is you're trying to, again, fulfill that hole in yourself of your younger self that couldn't fulfill that. You're trying to do as an adult. So you got to go back and figure out, how do I get to a space where I can acknowledge that trauma but no longer have to seek validation for it?
Right.
Like that's the piece that you've got to get to, which goes right back to self-love.
Well, before we move on to the next topic, I just want to say that I did share the video of me. You did my makeup, and you were in the background talking about somebody coming to your house, banging on the door at 4:30 or
No,
something.
you have the reverse.
And
You
was
had it
talking
wrong.
About, you
It was
talking about,
4:30
and he
in the
ain't even got no
afternoon.
job, and blah, 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 blah. So all I'm saying is I'm not the only one out here, you know, being toxic, dating people in
That
need.
wasn't my
And you was
toxicity.
clearly in the video talking
No.
about your unemployed boyfriend. But we can go to the next topic while she trying to get on
First
me,
and
Rico.
foremost, that was definitely not a boyfriend. That was co-parenting woes, and that was me picking up my son and him not being where he
I
should
wasn't
Lana,
even trying
you
to
want
put
me
all
to-
personal business out there. I
You
was
want-
just
you want me
saying
to
it
tell
was
you what
an
that was?
unemployed significant other in the past.
You hit.
I hit a nerve.
You hit a good
I hit a nerve. So
you
he's
hit a
like,
good one.
"Ooh,
He's like, damn, I gotta work on that. You right. But
You right,
anyways,
you right.
more.
I hit a
nigga was
nerve,
knocking
I
on
hit
your
a
door.
nerve.
Right, more from In Love and War. We at war right now. Next topic, man.
Well, Lana had touched on the differences between gender roles versus gender differences.
Yes.
And, you know, I kind of want to get into that. I want to figure that out a little bit. Explain that a little bit more from, you know, I'm a young man myself. I'm still trying to learn all this stuff. And, you know, as you guys are talking, I'm like, oh, I've been working on that. Like you said, love language, trauma response. It's like, damn, BetterHelp said that stuff, that same stuff.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of therapy going on in this room right now. You know what I'm saying? We all in here. We all in here healing together. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
That's what
if
it's
you
about.
tuning in, we healing together.
Tell them heal love.
That's
Shout
right.
out
That's
Juice.
right. Well, we had a conversation this weekend about gender differences versus gender roles. Again, Lana and I, we go back. We've been friends for the better part of a decade or so, and so we do hang out. We spend time together. Our kids hang out together, birthdays, all that. So we're no stranger to each other's personal lives. So I was over at her house, and I was helping her out with laundry. We both equally hate folding clothes.
Oh, my God.
And
Hate
so
Hey, you
Hate
trying to help me?
yeah, so I came over, we were working on the podcast, we were talking about, you know, we had our notes out, figuring out what we were going to discuss, and she came up with all these hampers, and she's like dumping clothes on the floor. Then she gets up and she goes into the kitchen, and then she's like washing chicken wings for her kids, even though she don't eat chicken, her kids still eat meat. So if y'all, hey, chef, if you want to come over and cook, they do still eat meat in that house. She just don't have none, all right? You know what I'm
I
saying?
have meat. I just don't eat
Yeah,
it.
she just don't eat it. But anyway, so she goes into the kitchen, and the clothes are all on the floor in front of my feet. And so I was like, you want some help? Because you doing too much right now. I hate folding clothes. And as a man, you know what I'm saying, that's not necessarily our gender role responsibility. But I sat down on the floor, and I'm folding clothes. And what I kind of felt like I did a better job folding clothes than she did. I'm folding
Maybe he did, because I don't like to do it. I'm
store
fine with
style,
that.
you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I asked her, like,
color
how
up.
do you want your towels? You know, you want them
You
in
want 'em rolled
thirds?
or you want 'em
Yeah,
folded?
you know, I'm all intricate about it. And she's just like, look, make some piles. But so as we were doing this task together, both male and female, it went into the conversation about, like, what are the differences between gender versus the roles of gender, and like how does society
And are
look
there
at that?
roles?
Yeah, do we actually have real assignments that we are supposed to be doing?
Yeah. Is there anything that's inherently male or female, right? Because I think there are some spaces. But we had the conversation of skill sets.
Right.
So, for instance, let's say that you're a woman, but you don't have like a great skill set in cooking. what is that? But your partner does. But since you're a woman, are you just automatically supposed to cook because that's the said gender role? No.
Right.
Like, for instance, we were talking about redoing bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter and I redid the bathroom in my old house in a weekend. YouTube and Menards. That's what we did. And we were talking about he needs to redo his bathroom.
My bathroom is falling apart.
And so I was telling him, I was like, well, I'm
And
happy
I ain't did nothing to it. You know what I'm saying? It's about dilapidated, out of code.
Yeah, so we're talking about like redoing bathrooms and stuff. But me being a female, it's unexpected that I would have the skill set to be able to know how to sheetrock and rip things down to the studs and do plumbing and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like, are there societal gender norms or are there true like biological, I guess, for lack of a better term, gender roles? I don't think that there are.
Yeah.
Now, are men equipped to do certain things more easily? Yes. You guys have the physiology to be stronger. You know, there's things that are better for you, things like that.
I could carry the sink or the bathroom out or the bathtub out by myself where
Yes.
you might need some help.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean that I necessarily know how to take it apart. That's my problem. Like, I can carry it up out of there,
Yes.
but you came in and told me what to do.
Yes.
Because I have no, like, trade work experience at all.
Yes.
What did I tell you? The dude told me 12,000, 10,
Yes.
12,000. You over here like, nah, man, 3 to 5.
Yeah, because if you do all the labor yourself and you save yourself the upmarking they do with all of your materials, then yeah.
But
12
isn't that masculine of you, though? To like, how you know that stuff?
Some people
You're a
think it
woman.
would.
What
Listen,
you know about
I get
construction?
accused.
I feel like that's right. That was the perfect example of the. I think of it as like the biological gender role, because if you think about it, the idea of a woman being independent, being able to work for herself is a very new thing.
Mhm.
Like, to us, it might seem like a while, because you can say they started protesting and doing more for themselves in 60s, 70s. That seems like a long time to us, but if in the span of humans, that's a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's a
And
blink.
I feel like that's the role right there. Bronze, brains.
Mm.
You know, the women we would go out and hunt, but the women are,
Strategy versus execution.
yeah, they're making our clothes that we're using to go hunt. They're helping put together our spears, our knives, our arrows, getting
but
our
it depends
food.
on who you're talking
And,
about.
Well, I feel
What
like
tribes, what cultures, because it's the reverse in some cultures. That's why I say, like, because remember I told you have to also consider where you're at, where are you
Correct.
living, what culture are you in, what country are you in, because it's different.
Religion.
Yeah, all of those things. Like, gender norms and gender roles are fluid because it depends very much on what other attributes are in your area, what's in your culture, how you were raised. I am probably more independent than maybe some women would be because I was raised by a single mother, so independence was necessary.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily have the constant reminder, I guess, of what societal expectations were for gender roles because my mom had to play both sides. Therefore,
Right.
I've learned to sustain both sides, which has made me more independent. But does it make me wrong? Or does it make me inherently masculine because I have these skill sets?
Yeah.
I don't think it does, but I get accused of it all the time. Like, I've had people be like, I feel like you just live in a lot of masculine energy. I'm like, it's not because I want to. If you think that I want to be carrying heavy stuff and building walls and doing all this other stuff, I don't. But it has to get done.
So do you think is it a safe thing to say that, you kind of have to be masculine if you're not?
I
if
have
you-
to be
if you-
society's idea of masculine to
Yeah.
operate efficiently in my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So it's kind of like if you're, I guess, like you said, the gender roles are fluid depending
On the
situation.
circumstances.
Yeah.
Very much so. Or I have a perfect example of this too, of how sometimes that can become toxic. We live in this society where we constantly throw around this term of toxic masculinity, right? Where we talk about men being overly masculine, not being in touch with their emotions. But in the same realm, men are chastised when they show emotion. So if they cry or if they admit that the world is too heavy or if they get into their feelings, then they're looked at as
punk.
weaker men.
A wuss.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And then women
Other
who are strong and are opinionated and they share their voice,
Right.
they're unapproachable and they're rude.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's what I mean about, like, true gender roles and gender characteristics.
Well, also let's look at relationships too. So I've been told that I'm not emotionally available. So because I
but
guess
who said you could be?
well, I'm
What
just saying
space were you given to
I
be
think
emotionally
that
available?
based on societal terms, like I'm kind of like a man's man. Like I'm a super masculine person. I'm not really heavy into like my emotional quadrant, you know what I'm saying? And so a lot of times I don't respond in a way where some women would like me to be more emotional or to be more emotionally responsive to how they feel about things, because I'm super like, cognitive, solution based.
Yes.
And so a woman will be like, well, you don't care about my feelings, or tell me like, you don't care about anything. And it's like, I do care, but I'm just trying to get to an answer. So putting people in those boxes, are you looking for that masculine person, that traditional man, or do you want me to be more like you and be more feminine in understanding? Like, are you looking for your opposite, like your yin and your yang, or are you looking for somebody to be more similar? And I think that's like a delicate balance, and I've tried to be better about that, but I do struggle. And even having a son and a daughter, like, that pushes me, because my parenting style is so different.
Between the two.
I handle my son like the way like I would handle myself. I'm like, bruh, like, cut it out.
Yeah.
I'll tell my son in a minute.
Whereas she gets the comfort.
Yeah, and
Right.
so, but then at the same time, I'm trying to like think about like what society is saying these days, and be like, no, give them some space,
some
to,
space
cry,
to cry, yes.
So then I'll tell them like, well, crying is okay, but crying about everything is not okay.
Yeah,
like
you
gotta
can cry,
and
but you
choose
can't cry
what
too
you cry
hard.
about.
Like,
You
you've
know
got a
what I'm
limited,
saying?
like a limited time where you can
That
cry, and then you
ain't
got to get
nothing
it
to cry
together.
about, bro. But then my daughter, I'm like,
Are you
it's
okay, baby?
And then when she gets smart with me and she gets buck, then I'd be like, all right, now how do I handle this? Because now I feel like she need to get punched in the chest. Because I ain't put it on her like I put it on my son. My son is like, yes sir, he afraid of me. My daughter's like, man, you soft, you ain't gonna do nothing to me. And I'd be like, girl, if you only knew.
You so right. You so right. I ain't gonna do nothing, but I'm taking your TV.
But I think a great question to ask in those instances in adult relationships, because we can think about it, is, do you want compassion or do you want solutions?
Ooh,
Because
put
like
that on a t-shirt. You want
sometimes you have to ask that question.
You gonna piss some you piss some women off with that though. I feel like a woman would slap me. I feel like a woman would slap me if I said that to her. Like, look, do you want compassion or do you want a solution?
But you can't say it like that.
yeah.
You have to say it. Like, you gotta
pick
sit
one, baby. What you want? You know what I'm
in the
saying? I
moment.
got
You
an
have to
answer
ask
for
them,
you.
because, and you can even preface it by saying, listen, I have a lot of masculine energy, so I'm automatically going to solutions. But you need to tell me, if in this space, do you need compassion and comfort, or do you want me to present solutions? Because I feel like in the moment, even if you're upset, like me as a woman, I think I could be like, I don't need you to solve this for me right now. I just need you to hear me and to give me the space to feel how I feel. And then when I'm done feeling that emotion, we can talk about solutions. But that's why I say it's a great thing to just ask. Like, that's when you come back to that open dialogue. Again, love languages. Know yourself enough to know your love languages. Know how you communicate. Because being aware that you're like a traditional, like, masculine man's man, you know the spaces that may be harder for you to navigate. So be honest about that.
Right.
I typically approach situations with this, like, with solutions. If that's not what you want, you're going to have to guide me through how you need me to love you right now.
That's real.
That's definitely something men struggle with, is the communication. Like,
But who's taught you how to do that too?
a lot of people haven't.
And who's giving you the
we have
space?
it. Yeah, that's the thing, is the space and being taught. Because like he said, you like, you said straight up, you want compassion or solutions, and he's like, well, I don't know. She gonna slap me. That's kind of the men's. She's gonna be mad at me. She's gonna slap me. She's gonna leave me. We gonna argue over if I say this. But a lot of the time, women prefer that communication.
Yes, because
And
then
that's
we can guide you on how to love us, and we don't feel invalidated in our feelings because you've given us a space to say it.
Yeah.
Yes, you've given me the space to be able to say, I don't have the mind right now to handle solutions. I just need you to love me right now.
Yeah.
I just need you to hear what I'm saying and love me through it. We can do solutions later. Because it's that simple. And it's the same thing with children. Like, when children have, like, I'm big on talking kids through how to manage their emotions, right? Like, kids have big feelings. They're learning how to self-regulate. So when they're crying and screaming and all that stuff, I never tell them they're wrong for how they feel. I'm always like, you have big feelings right now, and that's okay. It's okay to have big feelings. Let's talk about it. Calm them down and bring them back, and then tell me how you feel. And then once they articulate to you, can I help you find a solution? That goes across the gambit, no matter what age you're at. You got to be able to bring people back and get them to a space where they communicate. And the way that you do that is ask the questions.
And that's why they got to go to Cubana Lana, because old Uncle L Easy over here is going to tell you, hey, we're not crying about this right now. Suck it up. All right, take a moment, breathe, sit down.
And let me not pretend that this has always been my parenting style. Please don't think that this is how I've always parented. I had to grow and learn these things as well.
This is how I handle coaching football too. You know, kid be out there hyperventilating like they just lost a leg, and it just be a owie on their elbow, and I'd be like, bro, stop crying, talk to me. What hurts? It'd be everything. It's this side. And it'd be like they finger. You know, it's like, squeeze my hand. All right, your finger's not broke, boy. Get out there. So I think that's how I kind of approach life, and I think that the balance is important, and that's why I think, you know, where we are struggling in America with single parent households really hurts us, because I think both styles are important, right? Because life is definitely dog eat dog. Life is hard, and there are going to be times where you're going to have a space to talk and articulate it and get some counsel. And there are other times where you are going to have to suck it up and move on to the next play.
But you can say that in a way where people can digest that information in a better way.
Well, but what I'm saying is that there's balance in getting both, so that you are prepared for either situation, because when you're in war, and that's not a pun on our podcast title, but when you're in war, you're in the trenches and bullets are flying, you ain't got time to talk to nobody, right? So there are going to be certain situations where you got to be able to think critically. You're going to have to compartmentalize. You're going to have to fight through pain. You're going to have to just deal with what this task is right now in front of you and cry later. And so I think that you gotta have both. Like, there's not always gonna be a time where you can. But I think you can do both in a healthy way. And tell me what's wrong. Like, sometimes you gotta be like, F that. You're teaching them forward
to have those reaction times get less and less. So when you start when they're young and you bring them to the place, like, for instance, I'll give a perfect example. One of the children that I have in my life constantly, he had a habit of just losing his stuff, just going off, freaking out and all stuff. So I would literally sit and get to his level, and I'd be like, I need you to take 5 breaths with me. And you take 5, and you just tell him, good job, keep breathing. And then you calm down, and you say, all right, tell me what's going on. Now, he doesn't freak out at my house anymore, because I've taught him already. He knows that he can come up to me and go, Lana, this is happening. And I'm saying, okay, cool.
But what happens when he doesn't have a Lana?
He's learned how to self-regulate, because he doesn't do that in other instances either, because he knows I don't have to freak out like that to find a solution. I've learned and taught myself how to self-regulate.
No, I'm saying, but what happens if he doesn't have a Lana?
To teach him those skills. Well, I'm saying that's our responsibility as community members, is to help pass that information along, to say, here's healthy ways to have it. Because I think that to undo some of the unhealthy coping mechanisms we've developed in ourselves and then in our children and the generations before have to be undone on both sides, right? You have to work backwards and forwards, which means we have to teach ourselves first, because you always have to start with yourself. And then you have to teach those around you, and then you have to teach your children. So that's how you heal the generations before and the generations after, is it's got to go both ways. And the only way that you can do that is to start with yourself and then to start with those around you. So everybody's not going to have that person all the time, but hopefully they'll come across someone at some point in their life to teach them the mechanisms, and then you're breaking the cycle.
What if that person spits in your face?
That is literally the one and only absolute fighting terms I have in my life.
No, I'm saying if it's a child.
No, well, you're a kid.
I'm just asking, what happens if that child spits in your face?
I'm going to explain, like, you're a child.
I'm just speaking on my own personal experiences of working with children who are behaving that way, and you're trying to settle them down, and they spit in your face. I've been there.
Oh, listen, I
more
understand.
times than I can count. My reaction skills, you know what I'm saying? I had a kid on the ground one time. He was laying on his back, and he spit in the air, and I moved, and it fell back in front of his face. And he kept doing it. He had so much spit on his face, he started to just rub it in. He was real glossy. You know what I'm saying?
No.
But, yeah, I had him breathe. Then I told him to stop breathing because he smelled like just breath. And so I was like, you know what? We not even going to breathe no more. You just hold your breath. Hold your breath. You know?
Listen, I never said it was going to be easy to undo some of those, like, coping mechanisms, but it still has to be done. And I'm not going to say that there hasn't been times when I've wanted to absolutely punt somebody for just getting on my nerves because they have terrible coping mechanisms. But because I have, again, started with myself and did the work, I can pull myself back and be like, listen.
Were you always a self-regulator, or were you a little rough in your past?
Ooh. I was a force to be reckoned with in my teen years. I used to throw hands. I was a very difficult child. I was very strong-willed. I had a very short reaction time. Let me tell you something. I love my mother to death because she didn't murder me. I'm very appreciative of that because, honestly, I wouldn't necessarily have blamed her if she would have absolutely beat the hell out of me at one point. So, no, I was not.
She went to Central, you know what I'm saying? I went to private school, so I could be away from kids like her.
Sounds
you know
like, hot Cheetos at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, man. She went to Central, man. You know how they were over there, man,
No.
Stop being bougie, bro.
I know.
Talking about, I went to private school.
I went to private school. I wouldn't know.
That's why you can talk
wouldn't
so
know
well.
about kids like you know what I'm saying? I wasn't around.
Don't let him
all
lie
of
to
that.
you. Don't let him lie to you.
I went to private school because I was that kid. They were trying to reform me.
No, I had terrible
environment.
Maybe if we put him around these people, he'll find some new friends.
No.
Heck yeah.
But that honestly, that attests to like growth.
Yeah.
That attests to growth because I realized that those behaviors did not serve me well and I had to do something about them. Because listen, you can't run around trying to fight the world. It doesn't serve you well.
That's real. That's real. All right. What we got next?
Well, we were talking about back in the day when we weren't our
high levels of petty.
Yeah, when we weren't our true
best
selves that
selves.
you guys are, your evolved selves. What's some of the most pettiest things you've done at the end of a relationship? Not during, but at the end when it's gone bad.
Yeah.
Nobody loves each other. It's fuck you and your mama. What's the most pettiest thing you've done?
Well, I would say, just being a man, we don't do petty stuff, we just compartmentalize and move on. Do nothing petty.
Did you actually see his nose grow when he said that? Like, was it visible on the camera?
Yep. I seen the trauma try to get out. I seen the devil on his shoulder saying, man, tell him about this story. You remember when we did this to her? We put Nair in her shampoo bottle.
I can't wait to see, like, if anybody's watching us online, to see the comments to be like, wait a minute. I got a story.
Stories
They already
from
blocked. They not gonna see it.
They're not blocked on the other lives.
Man,
Go ahead and chime in, ladies. I want to know.
My block list is pretty long. It's about 20 of them in there.
Oh, that's not long at all.
Yes.
No. I'm just saying 20 of them that are blocked. No, I'm not saying.
I bet you he's blocked on twice as many pages.
Well, actually, it's probably about 15 women that are blocked, but then a couple of them have multiple aliases. Probably like 12, and some of them got like 2 to 3 to 4 pages. They keep creating like new troll accounts. Yeah, I be having to block them. They be tripping. So I don't know.
I like how it's always them, but yet he fully entertains these people. What's the common denominator in your nonsense? It sounds like it's you.
What's that new word that y'all learned in 2022? Narcissism. Like, I guess that's where I fall. You know what I'm saying? I'm not narcissistic, just narcissistic-ish. Ish. Narcissistic-ish.
Just a
dabadoo.
Just a little,
Just a dabadoo.
There you go. You know what I'm saying? Not full narcissism, just ish. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. You hit me with your first petty story or your petty story, and I'm going to think of a time where I acted like an irrational adult.
Okay.
Let me see.
So I'll have to augment this a little bit so that I don't drop any names. But I was seeing someone. I found out that they were also seeing someone else. And I said, I'm not going to catch flight, or I'm not going to catch feelings. I'm going to catch flights. I flew to London to go see someone that I know there who I absolutely adore, who happened to buy some items for a mutual friend, let's say that. And when I came back, I had that mutual friend wear those items to their house as I dropped them off for their scheduled visit. And I was like, don't you like that shirt? And this person was like, did you really send him here in a sweater from who you just flew to go see?
Oh, you had him buy him some polo.
Oh, some items. And I was like, you don't like it? You don't appreciate the
like
threat?
some what would you call it? Souvenir clothing?
There's an interesting thing online that it says, you hit her. I had y'all shake hands.
Dang.
Oh.
That's tough. See, that's some stuff that men don't do. That's what I'm saying. Like, we don't.
You as a now, granted, I am much more
we
reformed
don't stoop
now.
to that level of petty. Like, I knew I
That
wasn't.
sounds
really
like
gonna,
a Drake lyric.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna be able to match their energy. Like, what do guys say? Like, I went and got a new chick. Like, I mean, I don't got nothing in my bag. Like, my new guy went and
Was
bought,
it nice?
you know, some clothes.
Ooh.
Yeah, like
Because listen,
your
what
new
you're
man
not
outfit
gonna
your
do,
baby daddy's son or
yes.
something. Like, that's rough right there. See, that's how people get hurt. You know what I mean?
That's
I'm sure it was painful when the realization came to fruition, and I was like, "You don't like it? Was that uncomfortable?"
So, he like, my son needed some new clothes anyway.
Hey, shout out for the
Thanks,
Jordans,
bro.
Pippin. Hey, let me get a size 12 next time.
Right. I'll say, man.
That wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be, though.
I mean, but another dude outfitting your son.
That's not as bad as it can get.
Yeah, it
B.
can probably get a little deeper.
It can get a lot bad.
Yeah.
Women can do a lot worse to men than men can do to us. Or women.
That's
can
rough
do to them.
though.
That's
pretty rough.
bad, but like
So let me see.
It served its purpose, and I guarantee you, they will never try me again.
It sent the message.
that's what it did.
It sent the message that you could be
message.
replaced.
It
Right?
can
It sent the
absolutely.
message like, I
'Cause
got
here's the deal.
somebody
I didn't
lined
even,
up.
when I found out, I didn't even get angry.
That's the equivalent.
When I
of you
found
get
out about
touched.
it, I was like, I understand. It's okay. And then booked a ticket 2 days later.
Dang.
And then I was like, I'm going to be out for this period of time. I'll see you when I get back. And I'm like, enjoy.
Man, you gonna need security after this podcast. God, dog, don't get me beat up. You know what I'm saying? We be kicking it, hanging out. You know, they done ran up on us. You know what I'm saying? I ain't
He's
got
got a lot of nerve
I
saying,
ain't got-
don't get him beat up. Sir, I don't even speak to you in the clubs when you're with your chicks. You know why? Because you're not going to have me throwing hands when I'm like, we're friends.
Man,
Why he just looked like he got beat busted?
Cause man,
Because he knows it's true.
we had
he
an,
knows
we
it's
had
true.
an agreement that we was gonna keep this entertainment. You know what I'm saying? We telling too many personal stories on the podcast.
You started it.
You know what I'm
He
saying?
did.
We even agreed that this wasn't gonna
Trying
be
to
live.
come at me
in
about my
Cherokee.
4:30
4:30 in the
comments
morning.
because I hit
Viewers
a
on the
nerve.
live right now watching this. This is supposed to be the pre-screening. Oh Lord. All right. So I had a couple petty situations. I think probably the funniest one was so I was with this girl. Her nickname was the Cat Came Back. Cause you know how many lives a cat got, right? Cat got 9 lives, right?
Why do you let them come back that many times, though?
Chill out. Because
that-
you know
that
that's
cat
how
be
I get
coming
down.
back.
You know what I'm
That's what it
saying?
is.
That's how I
That's
get down.
what it
You know what I'm
is.
saying? Like, I got a lot of love to
She
give.
had a Garfield or something.
I got a lot of love to give. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give you another shot or 2 or 5. But, so they called her the Cat Came Back. We broke up a whole bunch of times. And one time, it finally, the situation climaxed, right? We was chilling in the living room. My boys was in the living room. This was when I was in college. So it was like me, my dog was my roommate, and then we had company. And then I guess you would consider her my ex-girlfriend was there. We were all watching TV. I don't know what she got mad about, but she took my phone and she threw it out of the living room into the kitchen. Just threw it into the refrigerator. Bow, hits the floor. Now, it wasn't my cell. This was back when we had the wireless, just house phones. Those the house phone. So I get up, snap, kick her out the house. You got to go. My homie's trying to give her a ride to the crib. She lived on campus. It was only about 4 blocks. I'm like, nah, you ain't giving her a ride nowhere. She's walking. She's walking to the house. So I send her packing, and I come back to Minnesota. I meet a new girl, and I actually have her. She flies down to Florida to come hang out with me. So she's staying with me. My ex-girlfriend shows up at the door. Now, mind you, I had already prepped the Minnesota girl that I did have an ex just in case we ran into each other because I live like a couple blocks from campus. It's a possibility we might see her out. So
That was the first mistake.
Ex come knocking on the door. Doom, 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 doom. She walks in. I can't remember if the Minnesota girl answered the door. I might have sent her to the door. I was like, answer the door. So she lets her in. They introduce They get introduced. They say hello to each other, whatever. And she goes, I'm just here to get my things. Now, you know, she had her stuff in my drawers, nightstand. She thought all her stuff was going to be all over the place. Like she was just going to walk around and start collecting stuff. I had everything already packed in a bag underneath the sink in the bathroom. I was like, oh, you good? Just go under the sink. She walks in. She grabs a plastic bag full of stuff and comes out, and it was like the walk of shame. She had to walk through that living room. The homies is looking at her. The Minnesota girls looking at her. She's like, all right, goodbye, Jamal. That was my roommate's name. He was like, see you later.
Oh, it's bad. She said bye to the roomie.
Yeah, she's like, goodbye, Jamal. Like, it's like goodbye forever. But that was probably like the most petty thing I did because, you know, I could have handled that better, but I literally set her up to get embarrassed. Like, yeah, meet my new girl. Like, you thought I was tripping over you. You know what I'm saying? I got another girl down here in 60 days. You know what I'm saying? And she flew all the way from Minnesota, and she bought us like 2 months worth of groceries. I ain't never went grocery shopping.
She should have sent her new boyfriend to pick up her stuff.
She ain't had no new boyfriend.
She could have.
Come on, that's toxic ease. You
the
know,
cat
they
came
fighting.
back. No, she was trying to get with me the next school year. She was, you know.
But the question is, did you let her the next school year?
Nah, after like the 9th life, she was finally dead. You know what I'm saying? You only got 9 lives, so not life number 10, it was done. Yup. Because I seen her. I was out on a date with the woman I ended up being with for 5 years. I was on a date with them at the movies, and that's when she finally got the picture. But she definitely tried several more times, and a couple times I folded, but you know, I finally was able to move on from that. But yeah,
it's all about growth, man. It's all about growth.
Yeah, that's probably the most
Absolutely.
petty thing I've done. Oh no, I did had a situation in Miami.
I was gonna say these as much as I know
Comparatives go.
y'all right now, it's not as
Yeah.
petty.
I did had
feel
a
like if we're keeping it in for the cameras, that's fine.
well, this is one thing.
everything,
This is
but,
one thing I hate.
Come
Like,
on,
because
Ease.
I'm not a cheater. I'm absolutely not a cheater. When I'm in a relationship, I'm in a relationship. I'm super faithful. And I love to be in love. I aspire for marriage. Those things are important to me. I want to, you know, that's just who I am as a person. And so one thing I can't stand though is being accused of cheating, especially like when I'm going hard and, you know, during that time in my life where like, you know, there was plenty of fish in the sea, you know, I'm like, I chose you. So my girl's friends just always was like, he ain't no good. He hangs out with so-and-so and so-and-so. You know, they get all the girls. So we just like, this is like, no, their crew he gotta be cheating because he hang out with them. So
Birds of a feather.
I tell my girl, I say, hey, my boy got a hotel room. We getting ready to go watch the, I think it was the Pro Bowl. It was the NFL Pro Bowl, possibly. It's something to do with the NFL. I think it was the Pro Bowl, maybe the Combine, NFL Combine, because we didn't have cable in our apartments. None of us had cable TV, and you had to watch on ESPN. Yep. So my boy had got a hotel room, and I told her we're going to the hotel to watch the Pro Bowl. So she's like, all right, cool. Me and my friends are going to the club. So we load up in the car at my house, a couple of the boys, and we drive to the hotel. Why this girl and her friends follow us to the hotel? So we're walking to the door. They pull up. They like, oh, so you just getting ready to watch football, huh? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, right. I'm like, y'all want to come in? So they get out the car. They park, and they mob in. There's about 5, 6 of them. They follow behind us into the hotel room. And my 2 homeboys, they brothers, shouts out to Adam and David, they sitting in the room, sitting on the bed, watching ESPN. There ain't nothing in there but some hard legs. Everybody in there watching football. So they come in, and they get bored. So they like, y'all really in here just watching football? We like, yeah, that's what we was doing. So they ended up going out and partying or whatever, but that made me feel some type of way. I was like, all right, you know, you're going to treat me like a cheater? Like, watch this. So I go down to Miami, and I meet a couple women down there. I'm hanging out on the beach, doing my thing or whatever, and I meet this girl, and this was before social media. So she emails me a bunch of, like, topless photos from a photo shoot she did at a pool party or, like, at a pool, some swimming pool. She emails me these pictures, and I'm a dummy. So I got the email like open on my laptop, and it's sitting on the computer, and I had just closed the computer. My girl opens up the computer to use it, and she sees my email open to like this topless chick down in Miami. And that was like kind of nail in the coffin for me, because even though I didn't cheat, it was like, yeah, caught you. I knew you. That was, you know, how you get down. So that was some real petty stuff I did. Shouldn't have did it. Yeah, man. But I think that right there is probably the dumbest stuff. But I did it like to make a point. You know, like if you think I'm a cheat, like watch this. But it wasn't productive for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. That was just young and dumb, though.
His petty is like petty light.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm a man, though.
Very
I'm a man. Y'all women are worse. Like I said, y'all don't know how to act.
I will admit, I think our get back skills are
they're 100.
quit.
The
When I was a
creativity to y'all is
teenager, like one of
ridiculous.
my first, well, I guess probably my most substantial relationship, I caught him cheating, and I went back to the house. I beat him back to the house, and when I got there, he was a big shoe enthusiast and hats. He collected a lot of hats, so I went in and I cut the tongues out of all his sneakers, and I cut his hats in half, and then I cut his T-shirts into mini tops, and then I cut all of the the middles out of his boxers, and then in bright red lipstick on the back of the wall, I wrote, "Let's see do the bitches think you're pimping now," and I left.
See? Like,
So
no
that's
no
not-
dude is going to do that. Like, we're not going to destroy a woman's property.
He tried to get me back.
Yeah, shit wasn't everywhere. You know, it's crazy. They you see that? Yeah.
I'm not going into a woman's closet and, like,
This was when
snapping
I was
the
like a
heels off her
teen, though. Like I was
shoes.
super young. I would never do no nonsense
Like-
like that now.
I don't know. Like, I just feel like men don't think that way. Like, we're not that, like, malicious in nature. Like, when we do wrong, I feel like our intentions aren't even to do wrong. Like, even when guys cheat, we don't go out with the intention of harming or hurting our main girl.
But you do go with the intention of knowing you more than likely will.
But our intention is not to lose our girlfriends.
Of course
like,
not. Which is why you think you won't get caught.
But I'm saying,
but y'all
for the,
suck at it, so you always do.
But that's because we don't put all the thought. That's exactly my point. Like, we don't go out with the intention of being like, man, I'm going to cheat so I can make my girl angry. A guy will go cheat and then take his girl out to dinner, buy her flowers, tell her he loves her, propose to her. Like, y'all actually, like, really want to, like, do things to us to hurt us. Well, we're really not even trying to hurt y'all. We're just trying to, like, satisfy our
But it's
ego.
because you
or
do it knowing it's going to
innate
hurt us.
sexual
That goes
desire.
back to that conversation about honesty.
Only if you find out. The intention is never to hurt you.
Listen,
It's
I don't
only if you go
listen.
digging.
I don't know
if
a
my girl
single
didn't go in my
man
laptop,
who
she would have
cheats.
never known about them
But
pictures.
why was it in your laptop? Like, come on,
'Cause that's
man.
my business.
Okay, but
It's my
I'll
email.
preface this. I'll preface this. Women are typically much better cheaters. A woman could have somebody and you would never know.
That's
And
true.
you could say that we're more respectful in our cheating because of that, because we are going to make sure that there is nothing. And we will probably
we
have
don't
already.
even go looking, though.
Some men do. But even
But
if you
that's 'cause
did.
they're operating in their
even
feminine
If
energy.
you did, you would never
They're in
find
their
it.
feminine space.
Because here's the deal. Like, listen, I don't agree with cheating, but I think if you're going to cheat, have the decency to be good at it. Please.
but not
have the
everybody's
decency to be
good
good
at
at it.
everything.
Then you probably shouldn't be a cheater. Like, if you're not a good pilot, you probably shouldn't fly a plane. Like, don't do that.
That's like me telling a kid on my football team, you ain't good, so don't play.
You can improve.
Well,
But how
that
willing are
comes
you
with
to
that-
maybe
but
get
that comes with
stabbed in that
repetitions.
process?
Like, we got to keep cheating so we can get better
Okay,
at
well,
the
then don't
cheating.
cry when you have all these women who are like, I don't F with him because he's a cheater.
But
Or when you've had your stuff cut up and blah, blah, blah. Don't
You know,
complain.
actually nowadays we can sue them for that. They changed around some laws to help us men out. You know, us dummies. It's now very illegal, almost to the point of sending out nudes.
really,
Yep, cutting up some man's shit like that.
good.
Out of
I
spite.
mean, it's damaging
Good.
property, 100%.
Yeah,
It's
thought
definitely
we need to start
damaging
locking
property.
y'all up. You know what I'm saying?
Before it was kind of like that's a civil thing. Now it's kind of it's like
Criminal.
it's under the same thing as if you go into a store and you
Yeah.
destroy like $200
A bunch of
worth
property.
of stuff.
Yeah,
you
it's
get a little
considered
bit.
damage of property.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be a
That's-
misdemeanor.
That's what it is now.
It should
and then
absolutely be
if
criminal.
you go over 1,000, that's a felony.
Yeah, good. Start locking them
And you
up.
can sue 'em.
I dare you to destroy my Jordans in 2022. You going to jail.
I'm getting on a flight. Remember?
Yeah, but you got to come back.
That's right.
Where you going?
No, I mean, like, I'm not destroying your stuff
Extradited.
anymore. I'm just going on vacation.
If you go on vacation, you going to come back and all your heels going to be broke.
Wear
Nah, bro.
heels. Those things
Hey,
are
just
mad
take the backs to her
uncomfortable.
earrings, take all her makeup brushes, put them in the toilet.
That's right.
You know, shit like that.
Yeah.
Destruction of property. I
Pour
sue
water
you
on
too.
your mascara, or whatever.
No,
You know what I'm
we ain't gonna
saying?
destroy it. We just gonna make sure you get pink eye.
I'm going to charge a bunch of stuff to your Amazon account. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to throw your Shein and your Fashion Nova box in the trash
Facts.
when it comes
Hey,
to the front door.
Hey, player, send yourself $500 off her Cash App.
That's
You
what
know,
I'm talking
Think
about.
about yourself, King.
That's right. That's
I
right.
just heard that that's like a new thing that people
Yes.
do. That is
Yes.
so I would listen.
amazing.
I would never think to do something like because I don't play about money. I don't play about other people's money
'Cause
or
that's
mine.
theft.
That is like I would never
Get somebody's
fix my
phone and
fingers
send
to go
some
dig in
money.
someone's phone and send myself money. Because let me tell you, if you do that to me,
Yeah, that's
I'm
that's
gonna
theft.
unlock Lana from high school. I'm gonna be like,
That's
ooh,
theft.
activated.
There was this video on Facebook. It was pretty much like screenshots of text messages, and it starts off like, "Hey, bro, you fucking my girl." And he goes, "I'm gonna be real honest with you, B. She a bop, she a hoe. I'm fucking her. My homies is fucking her. You need to, move around, think about yourself, man. Matter of fact, I'm gonna send you $150 off her Cash App. Break up with her, move all her shit out, and have a night on me. Go get some hoes." And he's like, "All right, just got the Cash App, player. Thank you. I appreciate it. You a real nigga for telling me." It's like, what are
I've
you
seen
doing
the
in that
reverse
situation?
where the dude was like, I'm a side. He's like, basically, yeah, like I'm the side piece and blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm the one helping pay your blah, 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 blah. Like, and like they collaborated because then other dude was like, oh, for real? He's like, well, I've got such and such with my side piece on Thursday. Can you take her? Like, and this is like
That
a legit
sounds like
conversation.
polygamy.
It is polygamy. But again,
Facts.
it's polygamy without consent. And I'm
Yeah.
like, y'all could have just had the conversation.
That's real. That's real.
Woo.
I don't know. Like I said, I can't really top, ladies' petty stories. Y'all are definitely the pettiest. Y'all got the crown.
And yet y'all still play with us like we're not better at it. I'm like, why?
I just don't think
Like,
we
let
care.
me see if I can poke the bear.
We don't
cavemen.
care.
We're cavemen.
Yeah.
I don't
It's-
care. I'm gonna do what I want. Oh no, I got caught.
Well, and here's another thing.
Exactly.
And
And then
here's
be
another.
surprised when you get caught. It's like, you do realize I'm good at this, right?
But here's another thing that we know: women want men that already have girls. You know what I'm saying? Like women like
I
men that are
don't.
liked by. But okay, you can say
that's you
I.
now.
You
That's
can
you
say
now. What about
I.
you when you was in high
but
school?
women
Before?
are attracted.
So
I
you
found
weren't
out
attracted to
I found out I was like a girl on the side. I didn't know that. I called her and told her. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I didn't know about you, but look, I'm making my exit. I just want you to understand my side of the story. I had no idea he was in a
but you were
relationship.
always like that.
I don't date other people's people.
I'm saying, but you never kept a man that you knew was desired by and messing with other women. You never stayed with a guy that had
I
other
have
girls.
never dated a man who was in a committed relationship.
No,
I'm
that's
saying
not-
you
like
never
the
kept
player
a
type.
man. You never kept a man who had other girls. Like you weren't in a relationship with anybody at any point that had side chicks. And you
Oh, I've
kept
been in
them.
relationships where they've cheated and I've stayed for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
For
And,
sure.
and so I'm saying that women are attracted to men that already have a woman.
That
So,
made
like,
him less and less attractive every time. And pretty soon I was like, you know what?
But what I'm hearing you say
We're
is
for the streets
what
and
I'm
I'm going
but what I'm
home.
hearing you say is over time. So I have a lot of friends who are married. And the married friends get more attention in the workplace from other women than the single men
Other
do.
married women?
But just women in general.
I find that to be common.
They walk by their cubicles and all that. They see their family photos. They see their wedding ring. Go, oh, your family's so beautiful. You guys look so happy. Are you happy? It be the married guys getting all the play in the workspace. The
That I
single
don't
dudes,
understand.
because women want men who are already taken. Men don't.
I don't agree with that ideology,
Men do
'cause I
not
don't-
actively seek out. Men don't actively seek out women who are in relationships.
Yes,
don't.
they do.
No,
oh
we don't.
my God, yes, they
Nope.
do. Yes,
hold
they
on,
do.
Let me finish. Men are not going out trying to take girls from other guys.
Yes, they are.
No, we will, but I'm saying, and you can't as a woman, you can't even tell me that that's
I can
what
tell
men do.
from my
'Cause I'm
experience.
speaking from male experience, having tons of male friends that go out. We don't go out with the
You're
intention.
asking the woman
Let
who
me
would be
finish.
experiencing
Let me
it.
finish. We don't go out with the intention of taking men. Of taking women from other men. Now, if we run into women that have a man, will we game them? I've said to girls plenty of times in my life, man, he don't look better than me though. Like I've said that, but I'm gonna fall back because I do know that if I pursue a woman with a man, that's drama. I could get shot. I'm gonna have to fight. Like it could be some smoke if I'm actively pursuing a woman that's
I'll
currently.
give you a key term.
Just hold on. Let me
that
finish.
disproves this.
Let me finish. That is actively in a relationship. there is risk there. There is inherent risk to our safety, and we have to be prepared to fight, right? Whereas women, that kind of heat, girl fights, it ain't all that. Y'all do a lot of yapping, but you're not getting shot. You know what I'm saying? No.
Not at the level which men are.
Dudes are dying over dealing with women that are in relationships or that are married. You get killed. Women don't have that same level of consequence.
But you're speaking from a logically speaking man. Like you're speaking of a place of like logic.
Female violence is definitely raising. But I mean, historically, women will deal. They'll sit there. They'll stay in the relationship. They'll be mad. They may leave, but if a man walks into the home and another dude is in there, it's up for real. Like high stakes on the line versus two girls, blah, 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 and the dudes still keep both of y'all.
I have a key example that kind of disputes that, though. One of the things that I hear consistently, even when I have stated that I have a relationship, you can't have friends. Men love to go for women in relationships all the time. It's worse. So you know that I do this. I wear a fake wedding band when I go out.
But does
because
it go
it's
anywhere?
safer. It's safer for me to decline a man's advances because there's another man present than it is for me to simply say I'm not interested.
Safer for who though?
For me, because when I
That's my
reject a
point.
man just because I'm not interested in them, I get the F you, bitch, blah, 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 like all those other things. But if I say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm taken, they're like, oh, cool, well, can you have friends? It's a much easier letdown and safer for me.
Do you see the difference in what you're saying, though? You're talking about safer for you to, like, deal with the guy's interaction, and I'm talking about high-stakes violence.
Right, but I'm saying men still play that game. They still go for women in relationships.
I've been out, because that's just the challenge in the game. That's just a part of the game. That's what I'm saying. Like, men want to test it. Like I said, I've said.
So you're saying they'll test it, but they won't go.
But I'm saying when you got to go all the way through, most men are not necessarily trying to deal with women who have a man because if it comes out, it's gonna really be something. That's just what it is. Like if I'm messing with a married woman and her husband finds out, I have to be prepared for there to be violence. Like a guy talking to you and, hey, you can't have friends.
Well, you're just saying men aren't going for women in relationships. I'm like, they are.
But I'm saying we're not actively going out like like I described in the workspace. Mm-hmm. Women are like hunting married men.
That is so weird for me.
They are hunting married men, especially married women, because married men are safe. So if they want to cheat, they cheat with a married man because they both have something.
Well, that's
to
why
lose.
I said, is it married women who are seeking out other married men?
They won't cheat with single guys. They'll cheat with married guys.
Yeah, because there's too much to lose.
But men aren't necessarily going and trying to ruin marriages because if that comes out, there is the risk for gunplay.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting perspective. I'll say that we can agree to disagree on some of those points because I get hit on by men all the time with a huge fake wedding.
They know that wedding ring is fake.
How? Who cares?
Just like we know the dudes in the club with the fake diamonds on. It ain't shining the same. You know what I'm saying? We seen them diamonds.
Fake or not? If I'm married, why are you still talking to me?
Them diamonds that look like Skittles, and we see the ones that look like glass. We walking up, we like, you ain't married for real. Your ring twisted around all to the side. It ain't even fitted right. Come here, baby. Let me holler at you.
We'll agree to disagree.
In Love and War.
Thank you for joining the podcast. Thank you for listening in.
Make sure y'all tap in to Love and War Podcast on all social media platforms. What are we on? We on Facebook,
Instagram, soon to be TikTok. We've got YouTube. So all of those things. And you can find me at Cubana Lana on pretty much all of them.
And me, Easy Senior, EZSR. I need more TikTok followers. I'm trying to catch up with you. She done blew up overnight. She got thousands. I'm still like 200, y'all. I need y'all to help me out, man. Come on. Man. What I got to do? Get naked? I ain't doing them. Too old.
I was going to say, in today's society,
baby oil.
Man, baby oil.
You better bring Miami back.
Get some yoga pants.
I'll
You know
tell
what I'm saying? What I got to do, man?
Just go gray. Do the silver fox look. Yeah, the whole silver fox look. Next thing you know, they're going to be calling you Uncle Ease.
Man.
Hashtag Uncle Ease.
Tap in with us. We got many more to come. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you, and good night.